All right, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris Sachinelli. I build, buy, and sell simple, profitable businesses every single day. And today we want to get into a simple, practical strategy, or what we like to call blueprints, of how you can go about acquiring additional customers, especially if you're early stage, maybe you're bootstrapping your way to your first 10K. This is a very practical way of going out and partnering up with agencies that produce good unit economics and a win-win-win type of strategy that's evergreen for you to be able to grow and scale your customer base. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This is a big problem that every entrepreneur, especially getting started, faces. It's, how do I acquire more customers, right? What do I do? And oftentimes what we find ourselves wanting to do is go and speak with the experts, right? Many times we find ourselves wanting to go out and hire agencies, and sometimes it's the first time we're doing it, right? Everything starts somewhere. We know that. That's perfectly okay, right? At least the fact of the matter is you're getting started, which is the very first step, and that's a good thing to do. Now, sometimes when it's the first time that you're hiring an agency, or you're talking to an agency, or you're even thinking about this as a potential strategy, you may not know the nuances of the approach. And you may also be looking at this as like a ton of potential risk, right? Especially if you've gone out and had the conversations and you don't know what to look for or how to listen appropriately, right? Those conversations can oftentimes become kind of overwhelming. And sometimes, especially for bootstrapping entrepreneurs, it can feel a little bit uneasy or like you're taking on a lot of risk. Now, with this strategy, what we're trying to do is mitigate the risk of a bootstrapping entrepreneur hiring an agency, right? So really simple. It's, I want more customers. I'd like to hire an agency, but I'm afraid to overcommit, to budget, to making the wrong decisions, to, not being able to manage it appropriately. And maybe this whole relationship goes sideways and I end up wasting or spending a lot of money that I don't really want to spend or invest in the wrong place as a bootstrapping entrepreneur. Totally get this. This is something that's very common. If this is your situation currently, you are not alone. And what we have in front of us is an actual proposed strategy and structure that we have used ourselves in the past, and it works, right? Now, this isn't going to work all of the time with everybody that you go out and have the conversation with. You need to cultivate the right levels of relationship. And it's just like, finding your prince or your princess, you got to kiss a lot of frogs, right, to be able to find the right type of partner. But if you go out and you have a structure in mind, you have a strategy in mind, you have approach in mind, it's just a matter of being consistent and continuing to commit to the right level of conversation until eventually you've kissed enough frogs and you find that right fit of a partner who's willing to do it. But just like most deals, there's always a deal to be done, right? We say that all the time. There's always a deal to be done. It's just a matter of ideally mitigating the risk, right? So if you can look at a deal and figure out how to take the risk off of the table, how to take and mitigate risk, delever the risk, then oftentimes what you're going to be left with is a win-win-win type of situation. So our solution in terms of our structured approach to solve this problem is to just structure the deal as a win-win-win. And again, in order to do that, you're going to definitely have to have a ton of conversations, because not every agency is going to see this as a win-win-win, right? They have a business too, and you need to look at it from the other side of the table. Like any deal, always approach it from the other side of the table. Change your perspective, change your approach. But if you can communicate effectively as to why this deal structure and why this type of partnership would make sense, then there's a good chance you're going to find the right type of agency partner, the right type of player, the right type of individual who's aligned with your journey as an investorpreneur, who will be willing to do this. And once you do, oftentimes, if you can get and land that relationship, those are phenomenal relationships to be able to scale your business successfully with. And this is a real way and a real strategy for you to be able to scale with. Now, let's talk it through. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is definitely have a budget, right? There's always got to be some level of skin in the game, right? The reality is you can never get something for nothing, right? The concept of free doesn't really exist, especially in business. And we definitely know that as investorpreneurs. We're savvy enough to understand that. So you are going to have to put skin in the game. Now, the thing is, what you're trying to, again, mitigate the risk for is losing, right? You're trying to mitigate the downside risk of losing the skin that you're putting in the game. You don't want to have to keep anteing up to continue to play the game, right? So you want to ante up once and then you want to win the pot. This is a strategy to potentially structure a way to mitigate risk to be able to continue to play the game until you played enough hands where you win the ultimate pot, right? So you're going to want to need to have a budget that you can invest into your media paid advertising spend. And for a bootstrapping entrepreneur, a good initial budget to be able to get with, I would not recommend anything less than $5,000. I think that $5,000 in our practical experience is kind of like that minimum viable spend amount where there's enough traction where something like this can work. And even at $5,000, it is a little bit tough. The larger the budget here, the more successful the approach. That being said, another thing that I'm going to flag here and put an asterisk on the play with is I want to talk through the initial strategy, the initial structure, but I want to plant in your mind that you don't always have to just commit to one thing, right? So you can take this structure and you can go talk to and shop it out to a number of different agencies. And just like how we do like A/B testing, and we'll test multiple things, try and error to figure out what works, right? In a very lean methodology, you can do that with your partners as well. So all you really need is the framework. All you need is the blueprint and the strategy and the structure and the approach. And then you can go take that structure and go have multiple conversations with maybe 2 or 3 agencies, right? Allocate spend and budget to all of them equally, and then test out who does the best in terms of performance, right? That's also going to diversify your risk even further. You're not putting all of your eggs in one basket. You also get to now see, especially if this is the first time you're doing this, the performance across the board. And if performance is the same, or if there's a variance in performance, right? So it's going to allow you to take in more information and more data and make better game time decisions, right? So I highly recommend that you allocate a budget that you can afford to invest, right? So set simple goals. Maybe it means go out and hustle a little bit more, do some consulting work or something like that to be able to carve out a budget that you can actually put aside to invest into the strategy, right? Invest entrepreneurship, go get a job, get somebody to pay you, get experience, take all that experience, some of that pay, go build an asset on the side, right? We want to bootstrap our way to get our asset to match our income so that we can then go level up in life, right? So this is saying allocate a budget, but a budget in which you can afford, and set clean, clear goals in a responsible way, and then go put that budget to work. This is going to be a strategy of how to do that. So once you've allocated that budget, I would say $5,000 per agency partner. So if you want to do 2, you're going to deal with 10,000, 3, 15,000, 4, 20,000, 5, 25,000. I would really recommend keeping it to maybe 2 or 3. Right? Don't go overboard, but having options is definitely a great approach for what we just discussed, right? The reasons we just discussed. Now you're going to go out and partner with these agencies on an evergreen profit share agreement. And what that means is you're going to go position yourself, you're going to position your authority, you're going to go position your company, and you're going to get them to agree to take you on as a client because you're going to make commitments. And the commitment that you're making is to invest, again, a fixed amount of money, right? You're going to agree that this is the money in which I'm going to invest in you as an agency to produce an economic outcome, what they do for a living, what their agency is designed to do. The kicker and the selling point to this is it's an evergreen strategy. So what you're pretty much going to position is we're going to make you an offer that's going to be a great offer in terms of a profit share. So we're going to give you this amount of money. You're going to go put that money to work. It's going to generate revenue for us as a business system. And then you're going to get a percentage of that profit. And that percentage of that profit is ideally going to be incrementally slightly higher than what they would otherwise have gotten as a fee. Ideally is what you would like to structure that as. So you got to kind of understand the math there, right? Never do public math, so I'm not going to do it here. But you should probably know what the deal should look like in terms of the parameters before you get into it. You need to make this appealing to the partner that you're working with. And then you sell the long term. You sell the long-term vision, right? Agency partnerships, like agency folks know that it's really difficult to keep and retain a customer or a client for a long period of time. And the longer you have that customer or client, the better the overall economics of that agency is, right? So their goal on that side of the table is to be able to acquire a customer and keep a customer for a long period of time. The churn of customers really hurts that business and kills that business. So you're going to want to appeal to that, and you're going to want to align into the long-term value proposition of being a customer for life. And that's why this is an evergreen strategy. And you're going to communicate to them why, if they choose to do this and partner with you, because you're selling yourself to them, right? You're doing this in a structure to make it a win-win. But what you're really trying to do is avoid the fixed cost bases and all the other structures that may lead this to where your budget gets incrementally burned down and you're taking more of the risk than they're taking. And you want to be able to figure out how to equilibrate the risk, right? Shift the risk from you onto them so that it's a little bit more fair in the middle and it's more of a win-win. In order to do that, you need to make the offer of the partnership that much better, that much sweeter. So the way in which you do this is you offer up a percentage of the profits. So first and foremost, that's how they get compensated. They're going to get this budget that you're going to invest, and incrementally a percentage of that profit. 25% is what I typically recommend, but you may want to shift the economics based off the relationships and off of your product and what you're selling, etc. But 25% seems to get the job done, and it leaves you with decent economics too, right? So you're going to want to take 25%, offer it up as a commission. Right? The remaining the next 25% is going to go to you. That gets you to 50%. And then what you're agreeing to doing is taking 50% of the revenue generated off of this strategy and reinvest it back into the budget, into the ad budget. And what that's going to set up is an evergreen strategy. So as long as they're producing as an agency 2x of your spend, which a 2x ad spend return is pretty standard to be able to achieve, right? You should be able to 2x your ad spend if everything is set up appropriately and the folks that you're hiring, this agency, is doing their job. As long as that's the case, then you're going to be in an evergreen cycle, right? So every single time you're putting it, and this is how it visually will look, right? So mathematically, you're spending 5K in order to generate 10K, which is 2x, right? 25% goes to the agency, which is 2,500, and 25% is your receivables for operating the business, which may be at a loss, but that's okay, because you want to, and you're going to want to know what that is, but it's, it's going to either be at a break even or an incurred loss, something of that nature. This is a strategy to be able to be evergreen, to continually get somebody who's an SME, a subject matter expert, aligned into your business system, right? And by getting them aligned to your business system, you're growing your business system, right? So this is a business system growth hack strategy that we're approaching here. This isn't like how you incrementally make a ton of money. It's just how to get a bigger, better business for yourself, which will in exchange make you more money, right? And then $5,000 is going to go back into the ad spend, right? So you're agreeing to this. So again, visually speaking, 5,000 is going up top. That's what you're agreeing to invest. They're now performing. They're generating $10,000 in return. Of that $10,000 in return, 2,500 is going to them and 2,500 is going to you. That leaves $5,000 back to spend again for investment, which goes back to that top of funnel, which then generates another 10,000, which then goes back to them 2,500 and 2,500, leaves 5 again. It's an evergreen, right? So you're building a closed system of reinvestment. And as long as the performance stays within these ranges, now it's never going to be this perfect, and it's never going to be literally allocation dollar for dollar, but as long as it's staying within variances, this is a pretty healthy, sustainable type of relationship. And for you, in terms of your mind, incrementally, what you're building the model around because this isn't going to be for everybody, but for most businesses in most situations, this is going to be a strategy that does definitely make sense, right? Because this is one that allows you to evergreen continually grow, and you're growing and you're getting that incremental 2,500, which you have to determine if that's something that is profitable for you or operating at a loss, right? But you have to factor in the fact that you're getting 2,500 into it. And what you're really doing is you're growing your customer pool, right? And that's what you need to be paying attention to. And in your model, this should be some sort of land and expand type of customer acquisition model, right? So if you're acquiring in this evergreen type of cycle more and more customers, what you're also growing is, ideally, if you're on a subscription basis, which is what this like absolutely kills it with, subscription SaaS, this is a phenomenal type of strategy because that's recurring revenue, and you're growing your MRR on a compounded basis, and you're maximizing you're absolutely growing the overall valuation of your company exponentially, right? So this is a great wealth creation strategy for a SaaS company. On top of that, this also works for other businesses as well. This works for a land and expand type of business where you sell something simple and you sell something basic, and you're growing your customer pool. And then from that customer pool, you figure out upsell or cross-sell opportunities to be able to incrementally grow the average customer value, the ACV, right? So if you can build, for example, these unit economics, maybe you're selling something, just to simplify it, maybe you're selling something for $1, right? And these unit economics drive this type of structure for $1. Then all you have to do is figure out, well, what's another thing I can sell for another $1, right? To the rest of the customers that we're acquiring, right? So you either can grow it through incremental cart growth, right? And positioning additional value add products and services, and positioning additional sales, upsells and cross sells, or you could just do a pure play SaaS. Even in doing a pure play SaaS, you could run this type of model for like a baseline core economic value proposition that converts well, a stripped down offer, right? Maybe this is a customer acquisition for like a lifetime deal or something to your baseline subscription, or like a steeply discounted deal, like a really great offer to your baseline subscription. And then once they convert in, you figure out how to strip out the value features that is intrinsically valuable to your customer base, and then upsell them into it and capture additional incremental monthly recurring revenue, right? So there's a number of different ways that you could run this type of model where you're then generating a pretty significant and decent, healthy economic profit for yourself and your business. The core goal is, again, everything starts somewhere. And what you're trying to solve for is like, and this is just, again, one strategy, right? This is just one strategy that you could deploy in your business to be able to grow and build a better business, especially as a bootstrapping entrepreneur. And this is just a simple blueprint. If you want to go out and hire an agency, but you're maybe sitting there being like, I don't really know if I can afford it. I don't want to overcommit. I don't want to overextend, right? Just remember, there's always a deal to be done. And this is just one proposed deal that you could probably do. All right, team, hopefully this is something that works for you. If you do get to use this and test this out, please let me know, right? Subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, please join us over at startupexchange.com. Join the community. It's a community of folks building, buying, and selling simple, profitable businesses every single day together, right? We have our acquisition accelerator. We have our Venture Scout program. We build in public. Please come and join us. You can message me. You can get in contact with me directly there. I want to know how this strategy works for you. Hopefully this is something that you're able to test out and use, and then feed us in on terms of your results. All right, best of luck and happy growth.